Is this contraption on? Are we living? It looks like we're live. I think we're live. What's happening, everybody? So we got to get the business out of the way first. If you guys have sent me super thanks, I want to say thank you very much for that. It doesn't always let me know when y'all do that, but for you guys that have, thank you all very much. I truly appreciate that. Now, if you're watching this video and you're watching it after the live show and you're getting bombarded with ads, go ahead and hop off the video, give it a couple of days, sometimes even 3 days to process. I have to go in there and actually physically remove those ads so that you're not sitting there listening to me and then it's like the Mopar chat ad show. I can't stand that either, guys. Drives me absolutely bananas. So if you're getting hit with that, hop off. Rest assured that at some point during the next few days, once it gets done processing, I'll get those off of there. That way you can have your favorite background noise generator rocking in the background. So with all of that, guys, hope everything's going great for you. You know, one of the common topics that's been coming up, not only just in and around, just the friends that I talk to, but also at home as well. It's old school versus new school. And guys, I got to tell you, the more I look at the prospect of picking up something old school, the better it starts to look. And by contrast, the worse the modern stuff starts to look for me. Now, I'm not trying to get into some kind of a argy-bargy about old school v new school, which one's better. And they're both really good in their own way. And they both offer up a completely different driving experience. Now, one of the key takeaways, at least it used to be, was that the old school stuff, well, it's a bit more of a pure version of the lifestyle, of the hobby, if you will, depending on which side you want to look at this from. The old school stuff is really the genesis. It's the bedrock, the foundation that all of this new school stuff is built upon, right? And the thing is that old school technology has moved along, still advancing at a pace that's pretty significant, making carburetors, intake manifolds, cylinder heads, camshaft profiles, and all of that for the power plant. It makes small block Chevys, small block Fords, and Mopars really able to keep pace with modern V8 offerings like the LS or the Hemi. Think I'm full of it? Well, let's take a look at the average 400 cubic inch small block stroker combination. It could be 383, could be 410. It doesn't really matter. Most guys will meander into that 400 cubic inch-ish area. And an easy engine to compare that to, well, that's your favorite 6.4 liter 392. There are plenty of fairly streetable, fairly livable 383s and 400 small block Chevrolets or small block Mopars with W2 heads, Fords with AFR 195 or 205 heads. And again, the Chevrolets with any one of the AFR heads with a modern carburetor on a modern air gap intake is going to make somewhere around 500 horsepower. They're all making roughly the same power that their modern equivalents are making. Now, you can say, well, it's fuel injection for the modern stuff. They're just a lot easier to live with. Sure about that? Because here's the funny thing. Once you start getting into that 530, 540 horse range, all of them are a little bit too racy, in my opinion, for the street. They are going to require torque converters to live properly. And about the only thing that separates the two, quite honestly, is going to be the number of gears that you've got in the transmission. And that's it. And for most guys that are looking now at old school muscle as a replacement for their new school, it's a given that they're going to go into that with 700R4, an overdrive transmission, all mechanical, 4L60, 4L80, 4-speed automatic, all electronic. And they have standalone controllers for these. And then the list goes on and on from there. And so I guess the point of this is you can, in a way, because of modern technology, I should say the modern technology that's gone into old school cylinder heads, intake manifolds, carburetors, and the like, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too with these overdrive transmissions. But this is nothing new. And what most folks would say, but yeah, you could just LS swap it and put the same trans and it would be a whole lot easier. And in some cases, it is easier, but it's not as cool. And see, this is the other thing. This is the other side of this that I'm having a hard time dealing with in a way. One of the things I'm having a hard time dealing with is I miss the cool factor of something old school. Let's face it, old school small block Chevy in an Elko with a 4L60 that's been beefed up just enough to manage a 500 horsepower small block under the hood with about a 2800 RPM stall converter will put a sting on pretty much anything on the street. And the fun thing about it is that you pop the hood and it's got the old school look. It's the old school panache that it carries with it. The way I try to describe it is that there are certain things that can't go out of style. Not that won't, but can't go out of style. A good, sharp, three-piece suit simply can't go out of style. It'll always find a home. It'll always find a place. The same applies for the old school 350, 400 small block combinations. The same applies for the Ford Windsor combinations or the Cleveland combinations. And of course, anything Mopar, especially if you throw W2 heads on a small block, or if you're going to go something a bit more trick, like a max wedge setup on a Mopar big block. That look, that style never goes out of style. Whereas take a look at a modern Hemi, take a look at a modern LS. If you don't know what you're looking at, you'd be forgiven if you got them mixed up. The Coyote is a fantastic marvel of modern engineering. I mean, it's like you've got it's like you have 5 different engines in one when you have a Coyote. And a lot of people don't think of it that way, but it's very, very true when you consider how you can phase those camshafts. It's an amazing trick. Not to mention a set of heads that flows for days. But the point of this is that, yeah, it's great to see all that technology under the hood, but then the vehicle just becomes that. It's just, oh, it's a Coyote in a da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Or, oh, it's an LS3 in an insert car name here. It's not the car anymore. And so that, for me, is the reason why the package of the old school with an overdrive transmission is really starting to catch my attention. And it's starting to pull my gaze away from this car right there. And the reason for that is, look, there's a point where fast isn't fun anymore. And we're going to get to that part of this chat too, where the old school cars are just so much more fun to play with than the new school cars. But I'm getting to the point with this one, as weird as it may seem, where I'm starting to lose interest. It's just not as fun as it used to be. And especially with not having a drag strip anywhere near here, you can have too much of a really good thing. You can almost have too much of perfection. And that's really where cars like that one right there in the pictures behind me come into play. You know, it's kind of weird. This car you could take on road trips from here coast to coast. You could cruise at 90 miles an hour and not even realize it. Air conditioner on, radio blasting, Harman Kardon system. What's not to love? Well, it's a driving experience that you're looking for. And so I've been looking for things with this car right here with Little Miss Revlon to do to that car to spice it up a little bit, try to build a little bit more excitement for me with that car. But soon enough, it's going to start to get to a point where I just don't want to deal with the electrical gremlins. I want to be able to get in the thing, pump the throttle once, bump the starter, lights up, and have a nice rumpity sound, and have something that I can still go coast to coast, but it's got a little bit more flavor to it. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm not saying I'm just going to ditch my car. That's not the point. But it's looking at things through a little bit more of a broad lens, of a little bit more of a broad scope. It's almost too good what the performance envelope is that these modern cars will give you. And I'm not just talking about Hellcats or Mopars. I'm talking about everything that's out there. C7 Corvette is a prime example of this. But any of these cars, even the new Mustang GT, the Scat Packs, for that matter, really the RT for me, the 5.7 cars, this is going to sound kind of weird, but the 5.7 cars to me represents the purest form of a muscle car in a way. In a way to me, in a way that the 392 can't, and the Hellcat variants certainly absolutely can't. And the Coyotes can't either, by the way. Where I'm going with this is old school muscle was a 13-second car. And here's the funny thing. Road Test TV was on the show last time. And if you had a chance to go to his channel, he's got a big block coupe Mustang on street tires at the track. It's a mid 13-second car, which by today's standards is slow. But today's standards are just wrong. Okay. And that's another thing. Today's standards are completely jaded because a modern 5.7 Challenger automatic is a mid to low 13-second car, just like that big block coupe Mustang, which, by the way, is about, I don't know, 1,000 pounds less than that Challenger. I mean, if it's not exactly, it's close enough to call. But for me, the 5.7 represents the performance envelope that is fun, safe, absolutely grin-inducing, boils tires for miles, in other words, but doesn't have the risk of a car that is trying to kill you, except the 5.7 cars will still go 150 plus miles an hour, where the old school stuff wouldn't, but they also didn't have overdrive transmissions. But the idea here is that when you move away from that and get into an 11-second, and I mean a legit deep 11-second car like a 392, or a mid to high 11-second car like in a Coyote, which we all know a couple of modifications to that thing that goes significantly quicker. All of these cars are so fast that, and I get it, progress progresses. That's not where I'm going with this. It's not, I'm trying not to old man this, but the reality is that cars are exceedingly, excessively, obnoxiously fast now. And I think a lot of folks have forgotten that, myself included. And what has spurred this on, of course, is a chat about old school stuff, both in the house and out of the house. But I took this car out for a drive the other day just to basically exercise it, keep gas burning through it. Don't want to let gas fester too long. And anyway, was driving the car, and it just kind of dawned on me that, I want to change the exhaust on the car. I want to do nothing else to the car in terms of making power. And I got to thinking, the more I thought about it, I was like, well, if I try to make this thing go any faster, it goes from being like a 1040, 1050 car in the heat, like hot heat, to a 10.0 car in unbelievably good weather, right? So like a 10 in flat air, my car is a 1020 something. It could be a 1019. It could be a 1026. But somewhere in that range you'll find my car in 0 DA. There is nothing that is that quick from the factory that is in that car's price range that could be that durable the way that that thing has been. But the car is coming up on 10 years next year. It'll be a 10-year-old car. It's going to have electrical problems. It's going to have these stupid little gremlins that are going to come up and a lot of real pain in the ass maintenance that, do I even want to tackle that? Whereas I could build a Duster. I could build a Dart. I could build an Elko. I could build a Nova that would be easy as hell to take care of. Maintenance would be a breeze. If something goes wrong with it, it's super simple to fix. We're talking lawnmower level ease of maintenance and operation with these things. And it would come in at roughly half the price of what I could get for that car if I sold it. So, not that I'm looking to do it, but I got to be honest. I've been looking at the prospect of it because I got to tell you, I miss the fun. These things are far too clinical. And that's the other thing. It's kind of a weird position that you're in, especially if you have experience with old school cars and new school cars. One of the weird things is that you discover when you are actively playing with old school stuff that you don't have to touch it. And there's a lot of just, it's cool. You don't worry about it with the old school stuff that you do with some of the new school stuff. And what I mean by that is, I wouldn't be so fidgety with the tune. In fact, when I get done with the live show tonight, I'm going to be data logging yet another tune revision on Stormy, which has turned into another reason why I'm looking at old school stuff is because I'm having so much fun with a 5.7 in my truck. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but I have more fun with Stormy than I do with Revlon. And you might go, well, that doesn't make sense. Revlon's so much faster. That's the only thing Revlon's got on Stormy is the fact that it is technically, I guess, faster, but it's not practically faster. I mean, both of these things will cruise at 110 miles an hour effortlessly. And believe me when I tell you, my truck will get you from zero to jail quicker than you might think. I mean, you got to remember, Stormy, even in the heat, is a 14.0 or a 13.8 vehicle. I'll let that sink in for a second. Even if you call it out as a 14.0 in the heat, that's faster than almost every muscle car. Yes, even that one that you can think of from back in the day in the same conditions. See what I mean? It's one of those odd conversations that you've got to kind of reel yourself in from sometimes. And I know that as car guys, it's easy to find yourself, I don't know, lost in a thought when it comes to your next project or the project that you're working on now. And once you're done with a project, haven't you noticed that a lot of times your interest in that project starts to really fade? And, if you're still having fun with it, you enjoy it, that's one thing. But it's just kind of weird. You get more of a raw feedback from, it's just so much more analog from the old school stuff. Whereas the modern stuff is just so clinical. You get behind the wheel of let's say one of the newer, like a Mustang GT. Let's say you found yourself in one of the new Bullets, which I am really crushing on too right now. When Ford released the Bullet, I was just, oh my God, I got to get one. But you get your hands on one of those and take it for a spin, and it is almost just too good. In fact, there are some old school guys that will say, why don't you just get an EV? All right. These are old school, like purist muscle car guys. They get behind the wheel of some of these modern vehicles. And the Mustang GT will come up quite a bit. I'm going to paraphrase a bit of a conversation that I had with an old school buddy of mine. And he brought up an interesting point. He goes, look, what if you're going to get a GT, because I was looking at Bullets too. He goes, if you're going to get one of those, just get an EV. I'm like, suck a freaking bag of dicks. He's like, no, you don't understand. Everything that car can do, although it runs on gasoline, it's trying to be an electric motor. Think about it. You've got camshafts that are constantly doing dancing in there. They're starting out really wide, lots of vacuum. Then they slam narrow and go full advance and then start rocking backwards as the exhaust cam fillets over to then extend that RPM range even further out, cracking the exhaust open earlier and basically extending the rev range out to 73 jillion RPM or whatever. He's like, dude, an electric motor can do all of that so much better. Why wouldn't you just do that? I'm like, dude, because it doesn't run on gasoline. He goes, well, so the end result's the same. You want all the torque down low and then extend the power out past whatever you consider to be a high RPM. Do that. But if you're going to do it with something that just does it, and don't worry about oil pump gears or fuel quality or cam phasers or transmissions blowing up and all of the things that come with modern engines that are doing everything they can to be as clinically precise as they can, in essence being rolling engineering marvels, test beds for the finest that technology has to offer today. So it's funny how the argument really does start to turn and flip around in full circle. The old adage of it revs like an electric motor, it was one that people would talk about with motorcycles quite a bit. It's like it's one of those, the smoothness and it's just weird how discussions and points of view can change throughout the process of discussing some of the different power plants that were out there now. And so I guess the point that I'm trying to get to, guys, is look, I always talk about the 5.7. I wouldn't let this car go to get a 5.7 Challenger. That's not where I'm going with this. If I let that car go, it would be because I found something old school that I felt would fit a niche a little bit better. And again, for me, the stuff that I like is stuff that just flat out can't and won't go out of style. But more to the point, it's all about the experience for me. And I feel like modern cars are reducing a driving experience to just numbers. And that's a real damn shame, because it's not the numbers that impress you. And again, I'll go back to Road Test TV's Mustang. I promise you, if you were to put yourself into his Mustang, it would scare the hell out of you in a way that like a Scat Pack wouldn't, regardless of the fact that the Scat Pack is technically faster. It doesn't offer up near the driving experience. And there's nothing like a big block making peak torque at 3,000 RPM with tip-in torque, basically the likes of which that the modern cars just simply can't offer up. This is more due to cubic inches than anything else. But these older cars offer up a driving experience that does not translate to modern cars. That's just how it is. With the only downside to them is that, quite frankly, you have to put a modern transmission behind those old school engines just to keep up with modern traffic. I mean, listen, modern traffic buzzes around at 85 miles an hour. I mean, that's the number you've got to be able to cruise at comfortably to say, yes, this thing is modern enough. And speaking of modern enough, this is one thing that is keeping me a little bit on the shy side when it comes to old school. And that's the safety proposition. Guys, listen, not only were those cars not really designed with, dealing with the highway speeds that we have today, they also weren't designed for the types of vehicles that they could run into today. And that's the big part of it, is safety. Safety margins have come so far in the last 30 to 50 years that, those cars, if you get into a wreck with them, well, there's going to be problems. I mean, there's a big reason why it was only very recently that NHRA changed their rules to where you didn't have to have a roll cage if you went quicker than an 1199 for modern cars. The reason for that is that they are just that much safer. But you also have to remember that the older school cars were just that damn dangerous if something went haywire, they were going to fold up basically like a paper box. And that's not a good thing. So, there's a safety part to that old school car that kind of gets me a little bit of a raised eyebrow, although I never think about that when I'm in Sierra and I'm buzzing around town in that thing. So I don't know. That's kind of, I have to bring it up because it's an existing potential concern, but I have never once thought of that when I'm in Sierra. So, but with that being said, let me get to you guys because I've been babbling on over here for about 25 minutes on the intro. Hold on, wait. Let me get my glasses of Moparing here. Shane is in saying, what up, B? Got the flex. I like it. Michael I was saying, gotta love the ads. Yeah, there's a lot of them that can pop up for sure. And that's why I have to go in and basically just kick those out of there. That way, I mean, and it's bad too, guys. Look, if I don't do that, I sometimes I'll forget to do it, but it'll be like every 3 to 5 minutes you get hit with an ad. And these shows go on. I'm trying to lower the length of some of the live shows to around an hour. So if I don't get to you, I apologize. But usually I try to bring them down to about an hour, and you don't want to get hit with every 5 minutes. You have that many. It sucks. So anyway, Eric's checking in saying, good evening, Professor B and Mopar fam. What's up, Eric? Daniel's in saying, hey, Professor, let's get this live rolling. I like it. Ardell's in. What's up, man? What's up? Jeremy's in. What's up? Sovereign's got the cadence. Bald guy with the shades and the flex. Saying, what's up, B? Mod on the job. I like it. David's in. Shane's asking, what's the difference on custom specking cams for pushrod car versus overhead cam cars? Do you have experience in this? A little bit, yeah. Most of my experiences with pushrod stuff. Overhead cam cars typically have, you'll have lower lift levels that you'll see in those things. At the most, you might see like a 470, 450 lift in some of those. A lot of that has to do with just the geometry of how the valves are sticking in the heads. Some you can get away with a lot. In fact, Mustangs you can get away with quite a bit. But there's not that much of a difference. Typically, you'll have cams with a little bit less duration on 4-valve heads, mainly because when a 4-valve has the same problem that a Hemi head has, they both are tumble port heads for the most part. What that means is when the valve opens, so you got 2 valves, when those 2 valves crack open, it's kind of like a Hemi with one real big valve opening up. And when that big valve opens up, it just takes this big gulp of air. And so the 4-valve stuff kind of does the same, although you do have, depending on cylinder head design, better velocity with the 4-valve. So you can get more flow with better velocity, usually at lower piston speeds with a 4-cam or 4-valve twin cam typically. So, but that's the main difference. Other than that, there's really not a lot. One of the other thing is if you get into cars that have a lot of adjustability within the cams, you don't want to lose some of that, kind of like with the Hemis, but you are going to have to put limiters on there as well. So, but that's the main thing. I mean, you kind of treat 4 cams or 4 valves. I keep saying four cams. You kind of treat 4 valves or Hemis the same way you treat a 4-valve. You don't want to go way too aggressive because it will absolutely wreck low speed cylinder fill with those. In fact, it's kind of funny. The cam specs are usually shyer than what you might think because you do have such excellent heads. You don't have to have as much cam. So some, not a ton, but some with the 4-valve stuff. But primarily for me, it's all 2-valve. Ardell's checking in with Sovereign. Dana's saying, Professor wearing the right shirt for tonight. Indeed, I am. Quiet Storm saying, B, what are your thoughts on the Toyo R888s for the street on a Charger Red Eye? Love them. 888s are really good tires. compound on 888s is what? Just shy of 200 or right at 200. You will be swapping them out a lot, though. So just know that coming into it. But they do hook. So just know that coming into it. Very good tire. Itch is in. Top of the evening, good sir. Top of the itch to you, my good sir. Sovereign's checking in saying, welcome, everybody. John's asking, do you prefer to drink Gatorade more than Coca-Colas? I'm actually slowed down a lot on both. I drink more coffee than anything else. And waters. And just regular unflavored or anything else bubbly water. John's asking, do I think 392 swingers are a dumb purchase? Actually, the 392 swinger, it's not my, it wouldn't be my first choice. I'll just leave it at that. Ariel's saying, yeah, unless you're looking to make profit on it, just get a regular 392. I don't know that you would get profit. See, here's the thing. A sticker package on a Scat Pack. I want you to think about this for just a hot second. When you could go on eBay and basically find a set of stickers, eventually it'll get to that point. I would say it's a bit, it's just not my thing. Sarah said, I don't mind the lack of electronics in the dash, just analog. That's one of the things that scares me about these. And here's the other thing. Remember, like you might have had a older uncle or an aunt or a grandma that says, all that new stuff is just more things to break. Well, electronics can kind of flake out. And these things were flaking out when they were brand new. So there's that. Dude, sorry. Everything integrated into the center console. It's a headache if it malfunctions for sure. Joe's saying, I feel you. Had a 4-door 67 Belvedere 273 two-barrel, ran like a top and had long legs on the highway. Not fast, not sexy, still cool. I'm telling you, it's not for me. It's the fast. Look, how do I put this? I don't know that I'm going to say this right. So I'm just, that sounded good. I don't know if I'm going to say this the right way. So I'll just say what I have to say. And then I think I'll know where I'm coming from with this. Fast to me isn't cool. Fast to me isn't sexy because the fast part of the conversation takes over the experience. So let me give you an example of that. I like driving Sierra, which is mine and my wife's 72 GMC 3/4 ton truck. It's got a 400 small block in it, extremely mild combination, but it will light the tires up. Basically, it will. I like that car or like that truck a whole lot, but it's the experience that you have in it. Like it's part of the conversation, not that the conversation centers around it. It's just a really cool buddy to have with you while my wife and I are cruising around, if you will. The same kind of goes for the Fox body. I really enjoy driving the car. It's not fast, but it's fast enough to be entertaining, and it has enough power to do entertaining things, right? So in that respect, it's fun and it's exciting. The problem with fast is that to do fast the right way means you have to numb a lot of what makes other vehicles a lot of fun. You know, the twitchiness, the dartiness of the Mustang makes it exciting to drive. That's something that you absolutely do not want in a car that is made to go very fast. You want that thing to be hunkered down, stable, and not react super quickly to driver inputs. Well, all of those things make the car kind of numb to drive in all other aspects of driving, right? And so you have to remember that you're removing something that's cool to get something that is, I guess, maybe objectively cooler, but it's really more subjectively cooler, isn't it? Because yes, it's faster, but it doesn't offer up the cool factor. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Road test is in. Oh, say appreciate the content, man. Your ears must have been burning. We're just talking about you a second ago. So thank you so very much, my friend. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. With that super chat in the house. And what we were talking about was, we're talking about the difference between how an old school combination, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a Mustang like yours. It could be anything. It's just pick an old school combo, like some of the ones that I'm looking at right now. It's a lot like a suit that doesn't go out of style. It's never going to be a fashion faux pas, in other words. And it's the driving experience that comes with it that is so engaging that engagement is lost with these new cars. And really that's the point, and that's the problem with this car right here. Because this car right here feels slower. I want you to think about this for a second, guys. A lot of guys, well, what is it like to drive a low 10-second car, 9-second car, or whatever? This car here feels slower in some respects than my Fox body, even though Foxy is significantly slower on paper. This car feels weaker, even though it makes 600 and whatever foot-pounds of torque, made 666 horsepower to the rear wheels with stock boost. This car feels less responsive from a tip-in throttle point of view than Sierra does, which is a 400 small block in a 3/4 ton truck. Or when my wife had her Camaro, the TBI Camaro felt like it had a snappier torque response in light throttle applications than this car did. Continue the thought process further. Okay, if now I'm talking about a 170 horsepower car that feels torquier than a positive displacement supercharged Hellcat that will run low tens and will damn near pull the tires off the ground. How in the hell can I make that statement? Well, it's about, again, that driving experience. That initial slap that you get with the old school combinations with torque is so meaty. It's equivalent. Okay, so look, I can tell you what a hamburger tastes like if I just say it tastes good. But old school is slapping that thing in your lap with a half and half fries and rings, and it's the best burger you've ever had. Like, you can have a good hamburger, but there's a difference, right? That's what old school is like. That's what that immediate tip-in throttle response is like. Sovereign, thank you very much, man. Saying like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, guys, very, very much. Very cool. And what I also want to illustrate for you guys when I'm giving you these comparisons, there's a lack of excitement that comes with a car that is put together like this one to be safe running tens, low tens. And in fact, this car here is less exciting than the Fox body. In fact, I'll take that a step further. This car would need upper pulley, lower pulley, E85. It would be a 930, 940 car to give the same level of excitement as a high 11-second car on the same type of tires. But it would have to be that obnoxious. It would have to be like Racer X's old Excessive to get to that level. And isn't that strange? That you have to triple the horsepower to the rear wheels almost with a modern car to get to the sketch level that the old school cars are at. And I guess that's really more the point, right? Like, you have to get to like, if you want to get to like sketch level midnight, you're already there with old school. That's why they're so collectible. That's why guys love them so much. I mean, there's not, and okay, let me just kind of flip this around for you guys. Let's talk about this from a Mopar centric point of view. This is the difference between like what's fast and what is great to drive between a 426 Hemi and a 440 combination. Just pick one. You can go full on max wedge, roller conversion, big block Mopar, or you can go, 500 cubic inch, ported heads, dual quad Hemi. Okay. They're both going to rock, right? But there's no, or stock. You leave them both stock, really, because that's more to the point here. The 440 is never going to rev. In fact, where it signs off is where the Hemi, like when you see a dyno chart, it goes, and then the Hemi goes, like that. Like it literally kills the Hemi until it runs out of breath. And it's because of that driving, or that way that it makes power, that the driving of the 440 is so much better than the Hemi, because you just go, and it feels like you've got 600 cubic inches underneath your right foot. It's like 600 cubic inches that doesn't rev, but it's this immediate wash over you with torque that is just so awesome. And so that's why there's such an immediate fall in love with type of an expression that guys have, and they will finds its way into imparting them with their hard-earned dollars faster than a lot of other cars that are out there. It's not because the Mopar is faster, the Mopar makes more power. It's because of how it makes power, and the fact that if you're not wide open, the Mopar's making so much more power in those all important transitional areas, like like right in here, not whap like this, just driving the thing around. It's so much more rewarding. That's where you know your money's been spent when you're talking about Mopars. Where the Hemi wasn't like that. The Hemis that I've driven were kind of soft, rolling to the throttle hard, and then all hell breaks loose, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the everyday thing. That 440 will do that and still offer up vacuum for all your accessories, and you name it, it's all going to work just fine. Put a max wedge combination together, it'll give a Hemi all it can handle and then some. But it would give you all that it could handle, or it would give a Hemi all it could handle, and it would give you, the driver, all that luscious tip-in power response that you're looking for. John's asking, would I ever get rid of my Hellcat if somebody offered you exactly what you paid for it, along with all the stuff that would come with it? Maybe. Jeremy's asking, 12s daily or 11s hot daily? 10 becomes a job. 9 is a job costing money and becomes no longer fun. So the funny thing about 9s is that with a solid 9-second car, most of them are running on corn on some level. That's just the way it is. That's a headache. Anywhere in the 10s is going to be fun, but you got to remember 10s are the new 12s. They're fast, but is it really fast? 12s as a daily driver are awesome. 11s are even more fun. And that you get that with a 392 Challenger or Charger. And you get 12s, frankly, with the 5.7s. And he said, how do you know I run 12s? Okay, the reason why I know you can easily run 12s with a 5.7, which, by the way, was kind of the mark you wanted to run, is because my truck runs 13s and it weighs 1,100 pounds more than a Challenger with the same engine. Oh, Daniel's saying 1,000% agree. That's why I chose my 5.7. Yep. David's saying, yep, back in the day, he had the 70 CUDA with a 383 Magnum. Very fun engine. In fact, it would be my preferred place to start if I was going to build a Mopar. Be 383, I'd probably build about a 430-ish cubic inch stroker with a max wedge combination. Daniel's liking the driving experience on the 5.7. Yep. Joseph's liking the 392 for sure. X is saying this is the nail on the reasoning of why I cam the 6-1 Challenger. It's not super fast car, but it is fun, which is all that matters. Not a whole lot of tech, just the old school feel, which is one of the reasons why a Cam 6-1 is one of the most fun and old school driving experiences you can have, especially if you pair that with a 6-speed manual. Oh, X is saying the closest they can get to a 7426. Yep, that's true. Modern's asking if I've ever seen a 5.7 pull a wheelie. Absolutely, I have. I've seen a shitload of them. Have you ever seen the trucks launch? If you haven't, check out any of Mo's Performance, any of the builds of the trucks. The converter they put in those trucks, it's like it slams the power into the ground. So yeah, I've seen a lot of 5.7s pull the front tires off the ground. And I mean high. I'm not talking about, we're talking coming out of the hole, just all kinds of goofy looking. Oh, Sovereign saying, yeah, talking about me saying, you want something old and analog, too much digital stuff, making the car just a car. Yeah. And the other thing is, yeah, y'all know how much I love Mark IIIs, but Mark IIIs, man, the problem with the Mark III is that lots of things can go wrong. I want something with roll down windows the whole bit. Oh, Sovereign's liking the analog, makes it more exciting. Yeah, it does. Oh, Modern Red saying that 5.7 is an awesome and stout platform. They could use some analog stuff. Yeah, they can get rid of some of that digital stuff. Oh, Sovereign, yeah, SXT, no thanks. Yeah, we're definitely not talking about the 6-cylinder stuff. Although you can boost anything and make it fast, it's just really not my cup of tea. Oh, Ardell's liking his old school stuff. Yep. Yeah, modern SXT has its place. It's just not for most folks that are interested in performance. Oh, Modern Red and Sovereign are hanging out. Car Arch is saying, I dumped my muscle cars and bought a 1320. Got to admit, brand new 11-second factory race car with warranty and AC is pretty awesome. Yeah. I have to admit that the 1320 out of all of the cars that are out now, the cream kind of rises to the top, so to speak. That would probably be the best choice for an overall really, really fun car to own. It's got a soft spot in my heart anyway. Car's saying, thanks, Itchy. Sorry, saying B Mason needs a 350 Nova. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one. I have got an engine combination that would be sick for a small block Chevy. Oh, H saying I got the 6-speed Scat to help with driving experience. They're fast enough, man. They're still fast. They're awesome. Jeremy's saying it's the smell, the feel, and the fact that you just might die because those 10-inch rotors can't stop you. Yep. Oh, Summer's saying a lot of the newer cars are all dual overhead cam, except for the modern Hemi, of course. Dual overhead cam stuff lacks the low-end punch. Yeah, and the problem with the old school, well, I'll put it to you like this. My M156 that was in my E63, those have a lot of bottom-end punch. The only downside to them is that they're real complicated in terms of, well, they're not complicated, but there's a lot of things going on in those engines. Oh, Carol's saying, missed my 75 Cougar XR7, had the 351 in Windsor. Like the Cougar is to Ford and the Mustang as the Challenger is to Dodge and the Cuda. Oh, Sovereign saying the ad block extension. And he's saying, hit that like button. Mike's saying, I love the old school. The sound of a cammed old school motor compared to new school is definitely different, which it is. I went with new with 15 RT for ease of travel with mods to keep up with a lot of old school. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they will absolutely run with them for sure. Max Bolt saying, we need more RAM content. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be data logging the truck tonight. I am really, really liking that truck, guys. I didn't think I would. I didn't think I would enjoy that truck as much as I have. And it's a great training appliance. To get that thing to launch right now is kind of tough. Getting kind of sick of 4,000 RPM 1 to 2 shifts. But thank you. I appreciate that. Marvelous Marvin in saying, what up, B? Great live stream. Thank you very much. Got the thumbs up. Oh, Road Test in saying, agree, B makes an old school cars or a different experience. Awesome Mr. Toad's wild ride experience with tires spinning, brakes pulling left and right. Isn't that the truth? Body leaning and the bonus of no safety features. But you can find the engine in the spark plugs, which to me, it means something. And it's starting to mean something more and more, to be honest. Ardell saying, I drink coffee and water also. Absolutely. Oh, Sovereign saying, Racer X did the review of a Swinger this morning. Yeah, just I have a hard time warming up to the sticker cars. Oh, Shane saying, I recently purchased a 2013 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland 5.7. Man, I love it. Going to do a Mopar part spin deal on it with a 6.4. Very nice. Oh, 6.4 manifold cam combo. Very good. Make sure you get the controller for that intake manifold. Some are saying low and slow. Not for me. Ken saying, hey, B, thanks for the advice for the no prep race. Never going back to Street Outlaws have ruined the event, 8th mile, and a few cars that are overkill in each class. Yep. Yeah, hopefully it helped you out, man. No prep stuff. The thing is, I'm not going to say I was into no prep. I just kind of how we ended up racing back in the day. So, but hopefully I helped you. And again, Road Test, Sovereign, thank you all very much, guys. I really do appreciate it. Jeremy's saying, first car I had was an 81 Firebird 400 small block, Chevy Turbo 350, 10 bolt and 323, ran a 1280. Drove it every day until it was stolen. Fun combination. Shane saying he's currently working on his 5th-gen Camaro 416 stroker LS3 NA build. Next to go is 13 to 14 Challenger SRT Core 6-speed car. Very cool car, by the way. The core cars, if you're not familiar with them, are just the base models, and they were really cool. Some are saying sketch level AC 427 Cobra. Yeah, that's not even an enjoyable experience. If you build one with a pissed off Windsor small block or LS motor would be another really good way to go with the Cobra. I would not go with another big block in a Cobra ever again. Max saying, once you excessively mod a car, the fun factor tends to go away, especially on the street, for sure. Oh, yeah, Sovereign saying, yeah, the 392 is really good at offering real snappy throttle response, torque response. No boost, just a big old 640. Yep. Oh, Itch is saying, yeah, he likes it in 6-speed for sure. Him and Dad's liking the 392 with the M6 for sure. Me too. Ardell said he loves the Hellcat. Also enjoy the 22 Ram 1500. I'm telling you guys, I mean, not for nothing, but I'm having so much fun with the truck because it's these Ram trucks, and I've got to put together my how do you say, the review of the DT Ram and my comparison of the DT to the DS. I am shocked at the difference between those two vehicles, but that truck is like a freaking luxury car. I mean, it's just that nice the way it rides. Oh, DM saying I have a 2016 Hellcat, but I swear I remember a 72 454 Vet and 69 Mach 1 hitting harder. Good times. And that's the thing. The old school cars, it's like I was saying earlier. You can talk about how much power these new cars have. That's great. Wow. But it's in the just driving the things around where you get this immediate slap in your back with the old school cars when you just tip into the throttle. It's just whap. Now, granted, yeah, you go any further with the throttle and really nothing's happening, but that's not the point. You can be going at any speed and you go with the throttle and it kicks you in the back. It's something that you feel. And it's part of the driving experience that is a win for the old school cars, where you just don't get that with the new stuff, not in the same way. Summer's asking, why do they design the intake on a 392 to look like an upside down macaroni pattern? That's a good question. Does that offer optimal airflow? No, it does not. The truck 392 is amazing for flow potential, but you can't fit it on the car. It goes off into the passenger side. But no, it's not optimal for flow at all. Ask me how I know after porting how many of those things. Oh, Mike saying, I know of a Nova. It's been 4-linked that needs to be finished. Needs 10 work in motor and trans. I'd have to see it. I don't mind a little bit of body work. That's not a big deal. I don't mind floor pans so much. I can weld, so it's not like it's a big deal. I mean, I'm not like a welder, but I can make two pieces of metal stick together and never let go. So, and I can grind really good. So that's all you need, right? So, but I don't have, it'd have to be a thing where I'd have to see the car. I'm leaning heavily towards like a 70 Nova. That would be pretty sweet. But yeah, old school versus new school, like I say, you never want to give a flat, this is going to happen or that's going to happen with cars. You just like anything, you go through phases and you're like, yeah, I don't know where I'm at with this. And you drive it and you're like, oh, I love you again, and that all kind of comes into play too. But I think the main thing is that when we're talking about old school versus new school, the reason why the old school cars command so much money, which is another problem that I'm having with old school right now, is finding somebody that has a car that wants to sell it and they're not trying to like hit the pick six with the freaking number that they're asking for these things. But the reason why they're asking for so much money for these cars is because, number one, nostalgia berries, right? Like member berries, you got nostalgia berries, nothing. And I mean nothing will suck money out of a wallet faster than nostalgia bait. So there's that, but nothing offers up a driving experience that the old school cars do. And guys, I got to tell you, I'm a sucker for anything mid-century. And it's just the look, the way that they hit, the way that the torque response is. They all hit and they drive in a way that the modern cars, with all of their electronics and all of the great things that they have to offer, and even including, the overdrive transmissions and the infotainment systems and the fact that you can cruise at 100 miles an hour and the car just kind of lopes along and is happy to do it. All that's great, but none of them offer up that grin-inducing, just dumb, like, that you're getting away with something, and that there's a different level of danger that comes with those older cars that you just don't have with the newer stuff. And so that's why they command so much money. It's why people gravitate towards them so much. Shane's asking, what's your take on an NA 440 or 454 base 6.4 car or 440 stroker twin turbo deal? A lot of guys have gone with the 454s that are racing. They all use the Holley intake manifold. Most of them are ported stock heads. Well, they're all ported stock heads actually, and a pretty darn healthy cam. I mean, they work great. It's more of a race thing. I really wouldn't try to make it work on the street, but if you want something that just rips, lots of power, that's the way to go. I mean, the 454 and the 440 are what everybody's running that are setting records. So, and when it comes to twin turbos, I mean, any displacement plus twin turbos you can make a lot of power with it. So, the 440 is just going to give you a lot more power off boost. And really with that, you're looking for, realistically a combination that's going to be really chunky to about 4,500 RPM. And then from there, it just goes nuts with boost. Oh, Mike saying about the Nova body wise is good. I think it's a 70 or 71. 10 work. I meant interior since it's been cut. Yeah, for the big tubs. Yep. He's going to see if he can give me some pics. Send him to bmasonTV@gmail. Sovereign's asking a good question. I wonder if any of this modern stuff will capture the same nostalgia effect in 50 to 60 years. I don't know. I don't know that it will, because I mean, there will be some cars that will, but I don't know that it will be as powerful a draw as the old school 60s and 70s cars. And the reason for that is because back then, see, you got to remember that the car culture was a happening then. Like that was the thing back then. It's not like that today. There's not going to be as many. There's so many more things you can do with your time and money that are entertaining that have nothing to do with cars. And so I just think that there's going to be some guys that are going to be as into them. They'll want to know about the history. It'll be a cool story behind it. Like my car will always have a cool story behind it. National record holder over and over again. Belonged to a YouTube dude back in the back then days. But will it ever be cool? Not like the old school stuff did, or not like the old school stuff would be able to like capture the imagination. That's kind of the drawback to the newer stuff. Jeremy's saying big block throws you in the seat hard and keeps you there. True that. Begin saying, isn't it funny how old cars didn't have cup holders? Nope, they did not. Even in the engine bay, because these do. Ardell saying, loving the look of a 70 Nova. I'm glad I was around all these cars, all these 60s and 70 muscle cars. Cannot say how the feeling of driving these cars. I love the fun and what it meant to me and others. Yep. Oh, Road Test saying the 86, 87 Grand National is coming close to an old school draw. There are some that are getting there. This is the weird thing, though. There are some that are getting there, but some that are getting there with a bit more class than others. The Grand National really took off a few years ago. The Lightning, the Gen 1 Lightning, is really taken off. The SS 454 and to a much lesser extent, the SS 350 trucks have taken off. The Gen 2 Viper, which is a terrible car, but I love them. There's mine right up there doing a burnout. One of mine. Those came back with a vengeance. I couldn't believe that. So yeah, there are some that are out there, but yeah, Road Test exactly right. The 87 GNX especially. One of those fetched over $100,000, if you can believe that. There are some of those that are going to do really well. The Cyclone and the Typhoon are two more. And it's just weird. If you find a pristine example, they are gaining some altitude, which is good. She's saying, I wish a 70 Challenger 426 or Roadrunner wasn't so expensive. Yeah, any of those cars. But see, here's the other thing you guys have to remember about old school. Man, they weren't built to the same standard that cars are built to today from a safety point of view. But you can also make that same statement about rust prevention, right? And there's a lot of things about those cars that lent them to not lead some of the the most I don't know, cared for lives. They were less expensive back then. And I don't mean just by dollars. They cost less per dollar that you earned to buy. So a lot of them were just kind of playthings. You know, they were what we would call back of the lot cars after only 5 or 7 years of ownership, with rust and blown engines and transmissions and whatever else, wrecks. Lot of wrecks, guys, whole lot of wrecks. So to find a clean, unwrecked, non-super heavy Bondo car is kind of hard. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Gary's saying, I have great appreciation for old school, but my 2017 Bighorn has all the comforts, enough power, and rides great. Thanks for opening my eyes. Really enjoying my Ram. Yeah, dude, listen, I'm loving the Ram. And again, here in just a minute, I'm going to be out there having a ball. And that's kind of the idea with these things, is that you can go out there and have fun and not put yourself in like I'll put it to you like this. For me to data log this car right here, let me tell you what has to be done. I have to load test it. Yeah, and load testing means high RPM in high gears. This car, when I do load testing, it's a buck, I'm hauling ass, okay? Like you run out of fingers and thumbs to add up how fast that thing is going when I do load testing, right? So 5.7 stuff, you can just play with it. That's why I like it so much. So get out there and enjoy it and know that you've got a cool, fast truck. I mean, you got to remember, it's stock. That thing's a mid 14-second truck. Mine's running mid 13s, and it makes a bunch of neat sounds, and it looks great, and it rides amazing. So you can make them fast and still have them be completely streetable and stock, basically. Shane's liking the two-tone Fox body. That's a good-looking car. Jeremy saying, restoring a 70 Nova for my customer, has a 500 big block Chevy Turbo 400 12-bolt with 410s. Nice. Dynoed at 7 bills at 6,500. And by the way, guys, that's not a not streetable combination for a big block, especially a 500 incher. So, yeah, Jerry, that's going to be a fun street car. That's one where, yeah, it makes 700 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, but it makes 400 horsepower at half throttle at about 5,000 RPM. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of a combination. I mean, you're just a different levels of throttle input. Like, you could put a throttle stop on that thing and at like 3/4 throttle, right where the primaries are really starting to open up, and have something that would be stupid fast, even without using your whole throttle. That's the neat part about big block combos. Callis is liking the 60 Fury. 60 Fury looks good. Ardell's got to check out. He's got to get to work early. I like it. Thank you for stopping by, brother. Always good to have you on board. Oh, Sovereign saying, yep, I usually go live Tuesdays and Saturdays, 7:30 Eastern, or rather Pacific, 9:30 Central, and 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Sovereign saying, Ardell, later. And with that, guys, we are getting over an hour. So I'm going to check out because I've got to get some data logging done. So just to give you guys a heads up on what I'm up to with the truck and some things that I tried, so one of the weird things we're trying to figure out, okay, why is it that the DS always feels faster than the DT, even though it's absolutely not? Trying to come up with that. What I did is I swapped over a lot of the so I data logged them. And when I data logged them, I took both trucks on the same trip and did roughly the same throttle inputs at the same places. So I could go back, and it was almost like having a dyno of both at partial throttle and at wide open throttle. I did a quarter mile hit. I did, which was wide open throttle, obviously. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So I was actually went further than a quarter mile. I basically ran them out to speeds, but made sure I covered the quarter mile per hour. And what I did is I went back and I had made some changes to the tune on Stormy to match up with what looks like higher stall speeds from Buffy, which is a DS Ram. But in the data log, there's no difference in torque converter slip between the two. Even frustrating here, even though the tunes are not the same, even when I made the switch over, the DT felt sluggish. So I just recently I kept some of the changes that I made, but I put all of the the converter slip back to where it was before, and the truck just in the drive over to the shop felt peppier. So I don't know. The mystery continues, guys. I keep trying to find out the whys behind it, and I keep frustrating myself with failure. But yeah, kind of a funny thing. But anyway, wanted to get you guys filled in with that. That's something that I was working on. Also made a change to just some different little airflow things, throttle body clips, things like that, trying to find out if I could maybe utilize a different clip, use Buffy's clip rate, which is basically saying it clips the throttle at certain pedal throws at certain RPMs, increasing the throttle opening amount at those voltages didn't make it do anything different. In fact, it made it a little bit more difficult to launch, which is kind of weird. Anyway, I just playing around with stuff with the truck. Like I say, I couldn't figure out a way to get the thing to act like the DS, even though numerically it is absolutely faster. So anyway, I made some changes. I'm going to go data log it, bring you guys the results from there. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out. If it's your first time hanging out with us in the show, hey, thank y'all for hanging out too. Glad to have you. Hope you stick around for the next one. And guys, get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are they need it way more than you know. If you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep your shiny side up. And with that, that is a wrap. Adios.